dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Algarves.
Oh, what is that on the screen then? That's the opening meme for today. We're going to stay with OK Air. What is it? And it's a little bit learn something about Portugal. It's a little bit try something Portuguese, of course. What is that? You're thinking to yourself, I do know what that is, but I can't just place it. It has been treated with a special kind of arty filter. So what do you think that is there? That with a little clue at the bottom, of course, it is the speciality of the house. Good morning to you. Thank you for being here. Hola, bon dia, Alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show live stream and podcast, endeavoring to put the alegria into your bon dia. Let's see who's in this morning, and let's put there you go. There you are. How are you doing this morning? Right, Coach Turner is in. Talking about protein this morning. T-Duck, Joao Denort, a lot of chat, I think, about food groups in the mix this morning. Deagle's in as well. Deagle was first in at 7:21. Let's go with his weather report then, first off. Bon dia, Colin Gumpus from a dry but nippy 3 degrees. Belfast, no storm yet. Seeing some terrifying pictures from the southwest of the UK. Keep an eye on that because that's where I used to live. And my mum, of course, is in London. No storm yet. Maybe it's the calm before the storm. How is everyone? I hope everyone's safe. Thank you, Deagle. Thank you for that. Very thoughtful this morning. Saw some frightening videos. Yeah, there you go. Of the storm battering Portugal. Okay, so not the southwest of the UK, but Portugal. Best video was the lighthouse keeper locking up their lighthouse. He stayed inside. I'd like the link to that. I'm not especially aware of any severe weather here. I don't doubt you for one moment, Deagle. Where I am, and that sounds like I'm all right, Jack, doesn't it? Where I am, it's fine. It's 18 degrees outside, nearly 19, and 20 in the studio. So a very mild morning. It was very refreshing, actually. It was definitely a stiff breeze in the air. Who doesn't like it stiff first thing in the morning? And it was really nice and refreshing to be out with the dogs in the weather that I met with when I stepped outside this morning. So very nice here on the Silver Coast. Yes, actually thinking about it yesterday, I went to the meetup as planned. Really, I think the new idea worked. This was the new idea yesterday. This was because Palmeira is closed. I don't think I showed this on the screen yesterday. But Palmeira, Nelson and Margarita, I did mention that they're having a break. And my substitution for the usual, just rock up and have a coffee if you want, or if you want to have a full-blown meal, go ahead, prato do dia. Or if you want to stay for 2 meals, as sometimes has happened at the meetup in San Martino de Porto, people are still there till the early hours of the evening, and Nelson takes care of us beautifully there. And I'm having a well-earned break at the moment. So I thought what we could do is meet at the usual place, Palmeira, as I've called it there, Palmeira Green. And of course, there's no other shape is there on this planet quite like San Martino de Porto Bay. And then walk around the seafront, the Marginal, and get onto the boardwalk around halfway through, and then head on to Bar das Piscinas, which doesn't make me laugh anymore like it used to when I first came here, seeing a piscinas, or when I was a schoolboy. You've been here a while, don't you, when a piscinas sign doesn't make you giggle anymore. Anyway, thanks to Pam, got a message that the Bar das Piscinas was suddenly closed for reasons beyond their control, and had to make another plan. So went up to Tudo no Brasa, and that's the chicken shop. It's not just a chicken shop, though. It's not just your regular sort of takeaway. There's a proper cafe restaurant. We were put up on the mezzanine floor. We were caught by the rain just towards the end of the walk. But we dried off in the cafe and we were treated wonderfully. And there must have been, I don't know, a dozen, 15 people there. When we first set off, the intrepid among us were lovely to meet you, Jennifer, and to see you, Tor, there, and Ian and Indy. So welcome to the neighborhood, the new people. If there's anything I can do for you in this part of the world, just let me know. You seem to be settling in well. Jennifer, I think, had been here for three and a half weeks. Oh, so you're the new girl. Then Ian and Indy had been here 3 days. And suddenly Jennifer was the veteran of being here in San Martino de Porto. So always nice to meet new people coming into the neighborhood and seeing a few regulars. People from Australia were at the meetup yesterday. So I had a great time. Thank you for being there. And yeah, and a mood of revelry. It's young Digby's birthday. For those of you who've met my eldest son, it's his birth. 12 today he is. So we're going to have a nice trip out this afternoon. And I think the festivities got going last night, however. It certainly did among the adults. Look at this. I would do a full-on try something Portuguese with this. However, what we have here is that if you read the subtitle, you have a La Bolle Breton. So you've got a French cidre, a cidre brut, selection de Pomme de Bretagne. So Brittany apples, 4.5% by volume, the alcohol in that. And a nice 3/4 litres of proper, what tasted to me like proper cider. It's not Portuguese, but I did buy it in Portugal. And I've got to say, I've marveled at why there's no cider, as far as I'm aware, made on the Silver Coast here. This is the place of orchards, isn't it? And apple and pear growing. We could have incredible perry and cider here in San Martino de Porto, well, and beyond, of course not. And there's me just thinking about myself again in San Martino de Porto. But here on the Silver Coast, it's an amazing place to make cider, potentially. Are there any gumpers who've got a big barrel? And I'm sure we could get a load of old apples, couldn't we, that are not good enough for the shop, bung them in the barrel. The first time I had proper scrumpy cider like that, it's very powerful stuff. And a carpenter had made it in his workshop. He might have even made the barrel as well, but he was just fermenting the apples quietly in the corner. When we went to visit him, he cracked open this was in Telford, in the Black Country of the UK. I had my first Balti meal. We took along some of his homebrew cider, and my goodness, don't remember much of the rest of the evening. So I like a bit of cider when it's well made. And I'm not a fan of the mass-produced ciders, the Summersby's and all that sort of thing. It's a refreshing drink, isn't it? But it's pop, isn't it? It's alcoholic pop. It lacks the sort of naturalness, I think. I mean, this is probably made in a massive factory as well. But when it was poured into the glass and you get a nice cork with it, it's a sense of occasion, isn't it, when you can pop your cork. And so that's the first part of it. You've got the little cork cage. You take the cork cage off, pop that. And the color of it's a beautiful color. It looks like a beer, very dark color to the cider here, the Cidre Brut. So recommend that. That was in my local Intermarché. So maybe that's in around the country. If you like your cider and you like it a little bit more, what would you say, artisanal rather than mass produced? Although I suspect, as I said, this is probably made in a huge facility. Maybe not even in Brittany. It could be China. I don't know. But it tasted and looked fantastic and got the evening off to a fine start. So lovely to see you last night, Anna, as well, after a wonderful day at the meetup. And there'll be another walk next week. We might do the same one, but I might come up with something else. That was the first of my cafe to cafe walks, which was really enjoyable, apart from getting a little bit soggy at the end. Nobody likes a soggy end. First thing or last thing, do they? Yes, of course some do. What? Portugal has stuff not made in Portugal. What? I didn't look at it like that. Yes, now you mention it, I'm going to be writing to the president. That is disgraceful, isn't it, James? Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Dougie, Mrs. Doug likes the cider. Have you been to the Cock Inn? Does she like the Cock Inn cider? Douglas, my missus loves cider. She loves Dunkerton's artisan cider from Gloucestershire, Herefordshire, and Bob. Bob Wenger is here as well. Bon dia todos. Yeah, I did really just say that. That's a long walk, Carl. We look for. Are you joking, Bob? It wasn't that long. It was a 30-minute walk. I think he's like, whoa, Carl, steady on with your long walks in San Martino de Porto. I forgot to measure it. I had the Fitbit on, but I didn't do the measurement. So I will have to do that walk again and give everybody the vital statistics, how many steps it is. But I certainly met my fan. I've lowered my target to 5,000 instead of this 10,000 that I rarely reach. 5,000 is manageable, and I get this great sense of achievement when I do that most days, and certainly it was easy yesterday. We look forward to seeing you all this weekend in San Martino de Porto. Yes, 2 days to go. We'll be meeting for drinkies tomorrow night at Baia Cultural. Can't wait. That'll be wonderful if you're joining us for that bit tomorrow night. Bob and Viv and Sarah and Dan introducing Gus to the area today. Bob, is it all right to show that video of you and Gus out on your first walk here in the area? Let me know if that's okay. It seemed a little bit personal with your name checks, but if you're okay to show it, I'd love to. And you sent me another a video as well. I think overlooking the hills and possibly the orchards that I was speaking of. Excellent stuff. Thank you for being here this morning, Bob. Let's see who else is here in the chat. Oh, and as you'll see from the ticker tape, the lads, the Fabrizio and Ian, our lads in Lisbon, are not here this morning. They're on tour, having a break. However, they have sent in some rather nice videos that I'll be delighted to share with you. One of them looks like an 80s pop video. That's one of them there. And let me find the other one. Oh, Bobby's in as well. I prefer that Australian cider. What's the name again? I can't. Is it Dickens cider? Yeah, Dickens. That's right. Named after Dickens, of course. Bobby, what are you like? As bad as me. And this morning is the answer to that question, I think. How are you doing, Bobby? Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow on the show. If you can squeeze us into your busy schedule tomorrow morning, that'll be awesome. Savika Anna, hopefully too, tomorrow morning. And then, Bobby, see you on Saturday afternoon for some filming at the Storytellers, about which somebody says, just watch the replay with Marco. What an amazing persona. He is going to be in our video. Englishman, Irishman, and a Portuguese man with the amazing persona. We have come across a few people like him in our life together. They are mind-altering. Many of our wine skills we learn from people in events like his. So that's the big wine event that I'm really looking forward to next Wednesday. Tasting 9 wines, all with pairings, and looking at the winemaking process from the Douro. We're going to have the winemaker of the year, Rui Cunha from the Douro, is going to be joining us here in San Martino de Porto next Wednesday. This is a whole week of debauchery just lining up right here in San Martino de Porto. The new bohemians of Portugal, it would appear. So you're unable, this correspondent, unable to join us next Wednesday, but I think they'll be with us next time. We don't want to miss his bar. Also, are all the events this weekend in San Martino or Salir? We're in San Martino, and it's not far. I mean, San Martino de Porto and Salir are effectively the same place, aren't they? They are the Bay Area, as far as I'm concerned, here in the Silver Coast. And we could only find accommodation in Salir. You're fine. If you found accommodation in Salir, you're absolutely fine. You'll have a lovely walk across the bay. That's absolutely fine. Don't worry about that. And there'll be things to do throughout the weekend. And this is a constant source of curiosity to me. I like a light touch. Who doesn't? Certainly first thing in the morning. And what I provide for the Discovery Weekends is a serving suggestion. It's not a tour. I'm not taking responsibility for everyone's every movement. So, it's just like, we'll be here on Friday night, we'll be here Saturday morning, we'll be here Saturday lunchtime. And there's a WhatsApp group, of course, the ever-present WhatsApp group for organizing anything these days. And I'll keep you informed of my movements in graphic detail if you wish. And then, filming Saturday afternoon, party Saturday night. And I'll just keep you informed of where we are, where people are invited to be at a certain time. Be there, have a coffee, have a meal, do what you want. But I'm not laying on, full-on tour guide type entertainment or taking bookings or anything like that, because I think you're all grown-ups and you can all slot in and out of it as you see fit. And there's a magic in that as well. For those of you who really like it, need to know what I'm doing at any time of the day, and can things be booked, and what if it's raining and all that sort of stuff. It might not be the sort of weekend for you, or you might want to come along to the weekend and take care of that for yourself, for other people who like things organized to that level. I'm not knocking that. It's just that's not my forte. So this weekend will be based on a serving suggestion, and I'm really looking forward to seeing. Turns out quite a few of you this weekend. Brilliant. Bob, welcome to the area. James, bom dia. Todos, feliz quinta. Como tem passado? Of course, yes, I was saying that we don't have Fabrizio and Ian this morning. We do have Alyson Sheldrake, of course, coming in to us from the Algarve, previewing the new issue of Snapshot magazine. So looking forward to that when Ali joins us, and a nice leisurely chat about the new issue. Literally hundreds of pages in her wonderful publication. And it's a bumper edition and quite doggy. I don't know if there's a dogging guide in the Algarve. You probably have to go elsewhere for that. Dad joke warning. Larvae was a great band before the Beatles emerged. Oh, pedigree. And you know what? I forgot the dad jokes. Now, for those of you who thought, I know what I'll do. I'll get in early this morning and avoid those darned dad jokes. Well, no, you're not going to, because I forgot to do the dad jokes yesterday, and I'm going to do them now. So the first 5 days after the weekend are the hardest. Ain't that the truth? Certainly will be next week. Oh yeah, what I forgot to mention next week is that on Monday it's the wine club, and we'll be drinking Jeropiga tomorrow. Not tomorrow, please, not yet. We've got the absolute extravaganza of wine tasting on Wednesday. We've got the whole Discovery weekend where I think 1 or 2 sherbets will be consumed, and then on Monday evening, just as we are probably wanting to drink only water for a few days, which reminds me, I must drink some now. Got a cup of tea going cold here. I might have to put a video on so I can have a slurp on that. But the Monday evening wine club is Jeropiga. And do you know what that is? You're about to find out. Excellent dad joke, James, by the way. Let me just take that off the screen so that everyone can find out what Jeropiga is. How's it going in Madeira, Coach Turner? A traditional alcoholic drink of Portuguese origin that is prepared by adding aguardente to grape must. What could possibly go wrong? And you'll see the Algarve there, the Algarve brand. That they do a ginger, don't they? And they also do a Jeropiga. Others are available. It's not a brand name. It's a genre of that particular type of booze, which is aguardente added to grape must. I think the Portuguese have tried adding aguardente to everything, probably, haven't they, as a way of masking some of the more violent tasting aguardentes. I can only describe them as that. And they must have thought, what are we going to do with this? I mean, it has the effect we're looking for, but it's horrible to drink. So let's add cherries, or let's add other fruits or nuts or whatever. And I imagine so many wonderful things have been born by trying to sort of tone down certain types of booze here in Portugal, the homebrewy kind of business. So there you go. That's Monday's Food and Wine Club. Not much food, hell of a lot of wine and other spirits, it turns out, at the Food and Wine Club on a Monday evening, 8 o'clock, with the Austins. Now, there was another, if I open up GMP VIP, we've got Stephen here again this morning or not? Or did it just come and go like passing ships? I've got, but my boozy business thing. What was I doing? I've posted up the video about the wine pairing event, 13 at the table it's called, next Wednesday. Jeropiga, I've done that. And Andy was talking about the liqueur de merda. Yes, you heard me correctly, and I can't possibly say that out loud, can I? On the breakfast show here, people were trying to have their breakfast. A clue is in the name, isn't it? Breakfast show, I suppose. And there you go. The people who make liqueur de merda, have also made this a 50-year celebration of the said brew. What do you call it when you've been brewing liqueur de merda for 50 years? You bring out a red wine called Muita Merda there. So there you go. A great little clue and insight into the Portuguese psyche in 2 bottles there. The original liqueur de merda, and 50 years later, after 50 years of brewing that, congratulations, parabéns to the brewers of that particular and funny offering in Cantanhede. Muito Merda. It's a Vinho Tinto, everybody. That it's a crowd pleaser, isn't it? Quite a nice thing to turn up with at a party. That's if you've if it's friends. Probably if you turn up at someone's party with that who you haven't met before, it could go one of 2 ways. I suspect you can either get invited back or not. Those dad jokes then that you thought I'd forgotten. No. I have the dad jokes from yesterday. Recycled dad jokes. Are there any other kind? So the first 5 days after the weekend are the hardest. Every time you tell me a your mum joke, I call my mum to check. Some of you are liars. My mum's not too happy about it either. If you want to keep a secret from me, send it to me as a Facebook event invitation, which wasn't allowed to be posted apparently on YouTube yesterday. YouTube took an offense to that, I think, or took offense to that. It didn't make it onto the screen. Is that right? I think, T-Duck, yesterday. So there you go. If you thought you had escaped dad jokes this morning, oh no. And more to come at the end of the show with Ali. So let's go back to a few more of your comments. I want to play some video because I need to have a sip of water or tea here. Are we waiting to hear back from Bob as well? Yes, the pics can be shared. Thank goodness for that. Okay, so a splash of video. Well, this is Gus having a quick splash himself, I think.
Walking some new territory with Gus today in Algarve. Down here visiting with our good friends Sarah and Dan. And he's just excited to be outside after a 3-hour car ride yesterday. Beautiful up here.
Very nice. Thank you for that. Silver Coast business there. Thank you very much. Gus doing his Silver Coast business and in the Silver Coast, the hills. Yeah, a different landscape. How different for you, Bob, would you say? You've got you come from beautiful Ponte Lima, where you have beautiful countryside and landscapes up there. How would you characterize the differences between the Silver Coast and Ponte Lima? If you don't mind answering that question in the chat. It's like being on the show, like being a guest, isn't it? And another video. A lovely view here on the Silver Coast, isn't it? And that is a really nice cup of tea, I've got to say. Got one more slurp of that left. Cheers, Bob, for that. Much appreciated. And who's this? Someone's giving us money again in the chat. 700,000 euros available in the chat this morning, everybody. Don't all rush at once. It might be like being on a boat. 700,000 euros at the other end of the boat. Let's go to the God Squad tip of the day then, and a few more of your comments this morning. This show is nothing without you and your comments. Oh, and thanks. There's a certain intensity to the support that comes in for the show around the end and the beginning of the month, which I guess you might expect that, mightn't you? Or is that as a result of earlier marketing campaigns? Suffice to say, thank you to everybody who supports and makes the show possible, the Good Morning Portugal show, whether you're a member over on YouTube, whether you are a supporter, which you can do on the homepage, goodmorningportugal.com, whether you're a beloved sponsor, or a purchaser of any of my professional services. And thank you to the Portugal Club members, of course, as well, who meet on a Tuesday evening. Great webinar, car buying webinar on Tuesday, Portugal Clubbers. Thanks to each and every one of you who parts with your hard-earned, so to speak, and literally keeps the show on the road here. So thank you very much to all of you. Bon dia, my Gumper pals. We had a wonderful day. And of course, yeah, not just the financial contributions, but as T-Duck pointed out to me, time, talent, and treasure. Treasure, obviously, the money contributions, the dinero, time. People give their time. A lot of you give a lot of time to this show as well, for which I'm very grateful too. You know, in the mornings, just being here makes it happen as well. And your talent, people give their talents, as you see here. Coach Turner, bon dia to all my Gumper pals. We had a wonderful day yesterday at the Chestnut Festival. Please don't be coarse whilst Coach Turner's talking about his nut festival here, which does sound like a euphemism, let's be honest. Chestnut Festival in Curral das Freiras, the Nuns Valley. Stop it. An amazing event culminating in a parade that lasted over an hour. Quite the climax in Nuns Valley then, yesterday. And interspersed here, your comments. It's funny, you and Coach Turner and T-Duck seem to be like, one body with two minds in the morning. They do a beautiful dance of comments. So Bon dia Alegria Gumpers from T-Duck 809. The God Squad tip of the day from the coaches: protein provides the building blocks to repair and grow muscle mass. Yes, when I'm tearing up my muscle mass in the gym, I need to make sure I'm getting plenty of protein back on board. When it was explained to me, the technology of muscle building, I mean, basically destroying old muscle such that the new muscle can be rebuilt in its place and stronger, right? Excuse me one moment. Dear, oh dear, that was a seasonal thing right there. So protein provides the building blocks to repair and grow muscle mass. Marketing wizards, they do, don't they? Everything's got blooming protein written on it in a supermarket. Marketing wizards try to persuade us that more is better with protein bars, shakes, and supplements. Ha! They're all unnecessary. Ha! Take that, marketers. Bill Hicks was right. We have a reasonably balanced diet. Providing we have a reasonably balanced diet, we'll be consuming more than enough protein. It's not the one to be especially concerned about, is it? Unless you're of a certain sort of disposition or you have certain allergies or requirements in life. But a balanced diet, I think, tends to bring more than enough protein, doesn't it, Coach, is what you're saying here. And what the body doesn't need, it will either turn into carbohydrate or excrete, not to put too fine a point on it. Are you two continuing to dance? You are, aren't you, T-Duck and Coach? The traditional sources of protein are always thought to be meats or, eggs. It feels like I've got an egg repeating on me. I had a boiled egg yesterday. Mrs. M made some boiled eggs. And I thought, well, they look good. Well, I thought she'd made some boiled eggs. What she'd made was some, are they called parboiled eggs? When it comes to a slightly soft boiled egg. I said, those eggs aren't very well done. She said, no, I didn't finish them. Huh? She must have got busy and turned the boiled eggs off, only for me to go there. I mean, thank goodness I got to them when I did and not a minute or two earlier, because I'd have ended up splatting an egg across the countertop. But who doesn't like a boiled egg with a little sprinkle of salt on it? That was a nice little moment yesterday. But plant-based foods such as nuts, seeds, and pulses are also good. I have a little box of nuts and seeds. I think it's a great idea to have a cache of nuts and seeds that you can have. Just if you get a bit peckish, good source of protein, and whole foods, of course. You've got to be careful with some of them. Some of them are covered in, some nasty chemicals, but not the end of the world. Probably better to have some nuts and seeds and pulses all mixed together like your own trail mix with your favorite things in there. A few cashews, if you don't mind, matron. A nice little thing to have around the house, and get away from this, 3 square meals thing. Bit of grazing going on there. So don't waste it. Don't waste money on get big, quick protein fixes. Not get rich quick like the other comments in the chat this morning, but get big quick. I see what you did there, Coach Turner. Yeah, protein fixes. Marketing people, what are you like? Okay, let's go back to T-Duck's interspersed comments there with Coach Turner's work this morning. Thank you very much, Ian, for those. And it sounds like you're continuing to have a fabulous time in Madeira. Good morning, Coach. I went to a British gym and lost 20 pounds on the first day. Sterling, that is. And deep thought then from T-Duck, intertwined with the God Squad tip of the day this morning. Kurt Vonnegut is good value, isn't he? And I'm starring up the dad jokes as I go, and I want to see the look on. Oh, I can only see 2 there this morning. I can go to our other correspondents. For maybe you got censored again. What age is it we're living in when dad jokes get censored? Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg and whoever it is. You see, I don't know who it is who runs YouTube. That tells you a lot, doesn't it? It's a faceless team, isn't it? Where you're just dealing with computers and algorithms. Again, what a world. I want to stand as close to the edge as I can without going over. Good place to be in life, isn't it? High risk, but an interesting place to be. I think I've done that for most of my life. Out on the edge, you see all kinds of things you can't see from the center. That's a good chin scratcher this morning. Thank you. Deep thoughts, chins being rubbed, and eyes narrowing slightly, and a nod of appreciation. I want to stand as close to the edge as I can without going over. Out on the edge, you see all the kinds of things you can't see from the center. Does pulling one of your own teeth out count as being on the edge? I did that last night as well. I think that was probably made easier by the cider. Yes, you heard me rightly. I used to work with a woman who was very frightening. And to add to her frightening persona, she revealed to me that she'd pulled one of her own teeth out with some pliers. And I thought, that is hardcore. And did a very similar thing myself last night. Not with pliers. It was a much more sort of natural labor. No forceps involved. It's just a gradual process. But yeah, and it was quite, it was a very interesting process, and such a sense of relief. I can tell you as well. I'm getting flashbacks. Okay. Living on the edge as I do there. Yes, you heard me right. I think it's been quite an interesting show so far this morning, even if I do say so myself. Not much protein in celery. I think it has negative calories. They do say this about celery, don't they? It takes more to, you have to give more to the celery than it gives you in an exchange with celery. Traditional sources, then, as we've seen there, are nuts, seeds, and pulses. And sorry, coach, says Tita, I thought you were done. Beans also have a lot of protein. Most foods have protein. I thought it was going to be a beans joke. You missed an opportunity there. Hard to find a food that doesn't supply protein. Yeah, well said. And I think that's how Coach Turner opened up, wasn't it? It's not something you need to worry about, especially in terms of getting enough. And rice cake. Who are you calling rice cake there, T-Duck? Anyway, yeah, that's right. Celery takes more calories to eat than you gain, allegedly. And new diet fad, all the sensation of eating, yet none of the calories. Rice cake, the same. But I think I wouldn't wish rice cakes on anybody. Mrs. M likes rice cakes. And is there anything sadder nutritionally than a rice cake? I mean, they get better when you put chocolate on them, don't they? And if you top them with things, but alone, they really are just like insulation, aren't they? Or, those suspended ceiling panels. It looks to me like someone's got a circular saw cutter, those hole cutters, and just got an old bit of a suspended ceiling, knocked out a few of those discs, and then packaged them up. And then you've got rice cakes. And the worst thing about rice cakes, is certainly in our house, is they're so disrespectfully treated. Mrs. M will have a rice cake binge from time to time. A lot of carbs, I think, in rice cakes, aren't there? Turning to, I mean, that's the thing about carbs, isn't it? What is the difference between a bowl of pasta and a bowl of sugar? About half an hour, they say. Rice cakes, I'm sure, are the same. And I know you can get different kinds of rice cake, can't you? They can be sort of more whole grainy than the refined processed ones. I mean, yeah, there's nothing more processed either, is there, than a rice cake? Anyway, I'll just finish my rice cake bashing by saying that you say, so someone will have a rice cake binge, and I've noticed this in a few setups that I've lived in, and then the packet will be thrown unceremoniously to the back of the cupboard. And then the next person to come along 3 months later, who's really hungry for some reason, who's come back from the pub, or is just for some reason really ravenously hungry and looking for something to eat, gets that packet that was thrown into the back of the cupboard some 3 months before, takes the first rice cake, which was never a good idea in the first place, and even at its optimum freshness was never going to be that great unless you're really hungry from the pub or something like that. And the problem is that first one has taken it for the team on the top of all the rest of the rice cakes and has gone a little bit soggy. And that, I've got to say, is among my worst dietary experiences, to eat the old rice cake. And thankfully, there don't seem to be many around in our kitchen at the moment. Yes, of course, somebody had to make a bean joke or talk about Blazing Saddles. Pulses are great, though I'm always reminded of Blazing Saddles. Here, that baby's got a sour stomach. Bon dia, alegria. A good day for everyone. Thank you, Facebook user. I'm not sure which FU is that, Facebook user, but good morning to you. Could be Dougie. Dougie's on his way to Portugal. We're going to get some 2-minute tasters. We're going to get him live on the show whilst he's here for the first time since his accident here in Portugal. Not his accident here in Portugal, but since his accident in Wales, I believe that took place. A great recovery. Well done, Doug, and back in Portugal soon. A new idea for an all-you-can-eat buffet, an all-you-can-eat diet buffet. Buffett, Warren Buffett. That's a good idea for an all-you-can-eat buffet, isn't it? A Warren Buffett. Not eating him, but eating his excellent sage advice when it comes to investment. Piles of celery, lettuce, cucumbers, rice cakes, green tea, black coffee, water. One of those businesses that for some reason goes out of business quite soon, I think. Yeah, Mrs. Hughes likes some cider. And Pam as well. Mrs. Donort also enjoys a good cider. So yes, there you go. I would recommend that. Available in Intermarché at the moment. The Cidre Brut, imported from. I know I feel a bit unfaithful when I recommend things that aren't made here in Portugal. Bon dia todos from a rainy Lisbon. Good morning, Antonio. Did you get your mug in the end or not? And now then, Antonio, you know that thread we've got in GMP VIP? Where we've got hundreds, thanks to you and T-Duck, we've got hundreds of Portuguese sayings, which you add to, and I really appreciate that, Antonio. Now, I've been writing for the Portugal Resident. Oh, the power of now made it the power of now. has made it into the resident. That got published yesterday. If you want to have a look at that, the personal development program that is Portugal and learning the power of patience here. Patience, as not as in hospital patients, but as in being a patient person, a virtue. And I was writing a new article which has the phrase in it, "Now vamos dejar os braços." I won't translate that yet, but did we ever put that, or did you or T-Duck ever put that into all those wonderful Portuguese sayings of the day that we have over there at GMP VIP, learnaboutportugal.com? And have you got your mug? More to the point, Antonio. Bobby, yes, he likes the Australian cider, and I don't like the Cock-In or the Dunkerton's cider. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's a foul wordplay or actually a legitimate brand there, the Dunkertons. 30 minutes of walking would be about, what is that? 11 halves of a kilometre. Oh, 1.5 kilometers. It's hard to do that, isn't it? When you've only got that keyboard available to you. I had some or access to only those parts of the keyboard. Thank you very much, James, for that. 1.5 kilometers, 30 minutes. How many steps would that be then? I think it's got to be, what, 2,000 steps, something like that. Had some cooked chestnuts yesterday. It's the time, isn't it? Magusto. After dinner with Jerapiga. Excellent. Very seasonal then. I think that's why Linda Austin recommended that for next Monday. Carl, when I was a kid, it's flat and it's an easy walk, the seafront there, the cafe to cafe walk that I shared with you earlier on that we did yesterday as part of the meetup. And we can do it again this weekend for those who are coming to San Martino de Porto. When I was a kid, we left the apple peelings from our cider, sit in the loader bucket over the weekend. Okay, so the leavings of the apple peelings, do they not go in as well? So you peeled your apples. That's very cultured. I know with a scrumpy, they chuck everything in there and a dead rat as well. Anyway, you gave it to the pigs Monday morning without a thought, then had 90 very tipsy, full-grown pigs. Very interesting. So just what? Over one weekend, it starts to ferment. Incredible. And great news. Should we ever need to do that? Oops, my KMs and miles got mixed up. So 30-minute walk would be about 2 kilometers. Thank you for that, James. Much appreciated. Smash that like button. Like that smash button this morning. And I couldn't believe it when I first saw the liqueur de merde. I had to verify it with Luisa that I hadn't somehow misinterpreted. It's when you think about it, it's so Portuguese, isn't it? Oh, visual dad joke warning. While you're talking, and so I don't forget, you shared with us. Can this be spun in and connected in any way? I don't think so. I think it's random, but I'll do it now so that I don't forget. There you go. And let's say thank you very much to Mark Parisi, the cartoonist here who created this. Great. He forgot his lines again. Thank you very much for that, James. Last couple of comments. And I'm going to play a video that's come in from Fabrizio and Ian. They made us a couple of lovely... oh, I see. Rice cake. That's why you were saying rice cake. We shall see about that. Yeah, thank you very much for your VDJW warning alert there. And Darren's in. Morning, Darren. Where you been? Good morning. Rudely awoken early by the Bombeiros chain soaring a fallen tree. Yeah, so it has been stormy up in the north then. And when I was out with the dogs last night at midnight, I heard some people working what seemed to be in a forest. It might have been the railway line. But there were works going on, so maybe they were clearing something that had fallen onto the railway line here on the Silver Coast. It was really weird. The stars were so bright last night in between gaps in the clouds because of the full moon, presumably. And there were men working at midnight. It was quite the weird atmosphere. But the cider probably had expanded my mind in some way as well. And but not the sound of a tree falling in your place, I hope, says Antonio F. Good to have you here this morning, Darren. How's it going up there in Porto? Something to think about. Yes, please. Although, no, I'm trying to give it up, actually. What am I saying? I can't. Where is your something to think about? Can you send me that via WhatsApp in case I've missed it, James, so that I make sure I include that. We like these little bits of food for thought, don't we? Apart from those of us who are trying to give up thinking or thinking too much, which is most of our thinking, let's face it. Beautiful here on the Silver Coast. We came in after dark. We look forward to exploring more. The acorns aren't nearly as ripe here as home. That's not a euphemism. I'm sure that's an actual fact. But Gus enjoyed one. A dog that likes eating acorns. Interesting. You can make coffee out of acorns, can't you? Or a kind of coffee. Anyway, the best idea is not to have snacks throughout the day. I'm still trying. He's still very trying, is Darren up in Porto. Of course, you could see all things from the center if you bother to rotate your body. Responding to Kurt Vonnegut this morning, and rice cake was the answer to your earlier photo question. Bolo de arroz. Is T-Duck right about that? And do you like one of those from time to time? I like that. Okay, what is it? We should do more of these. If you want to send in a photo of something from your travels in Portugal, your daily round and the common task, a little abstraction, like those close-up photos or a little sort of segment like I've done there. Looks about right to me. A bolo de arroz, especialidad de casa. There, I do like a bolo de arroz. Well done. Good stuff. Congratulations there for getting that right. Nice one, T-Duck. And let's go to the final few comments before that we show that video and we say hi to Ali this morning. The thorough research done by the beef industry says we need 12,000 kilograms of meat protein daily. Yes, that sounds about right. And it was Kellogg. He was a weirdo, was he not? Is it okay to say that in public? Allegedly. Who said breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Yeah, he had some strange ideas, including ironing corn into shapes that people had to then put milk and sugar on to make them taste okay, and then become addicted to. He was one of these early food marketers, wasn't he, that managed to capture people's imaginations. Portuguese rice cake, bolo de arroz, weighing some 80 grams, has about 300 calories. Share it. Share it. No, the mug went back and you never got it. What? It's going to be an inquiry about this. When are we going to meet, Antonio F? Can you come to the Discovery Weekend this weekend? I'll give you one in your hand. Or I'll get you another one sent. Thank you very much. And on a somber note, oh no, Joao de Nort, my mum passed away peacefully yesterday afternoon. She was 102. I'm so sorry to hear that, Joao. John, lots of love to you this morning. I'm 10 months. It was certainly expected, and now coordinating plans to go back for a service. Lots of mixed. Of course, mate. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to hear that. Wow, that's awful. And an amazing age, 102 and 10 months. And lots of love to you and yours and your extended family. Joao de Nort, to John and Pam this morning. Oh, mate. Okay. Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. Okay, let's go to what looks like an 80s video now. If I put this onto the screen, Fabrizio and Ian can't. Now that if I just pause it there, it is looking like an 80s video, isn't it? Pet Shop Boys come to mind immediately, don't they? And we'll have a chat with Alyson Sheldrake after this, and we'll preview November's Snapshot magazine. But where are they off to, I wonder? Is that rolling where you are? I hope it is. No, it's not running.
Hello everyone, it's Monday morning. Stopped raining. It's been raining for all week, more or less. So we're going for a nice walk on the Costa de Caparica. Hope you enjoy. Bye. I see the one. Yes, with all this talking about dream properties and a garage for your car and your swimming pool, let me show you some dream property. Yeah, exactly. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. We certainly did. This is November, and this is Lisbon. Well, 20 minutes from now. Peace.
That was excellent. Let's give her a nice big round of applause and she can come and enjoy that on the screen with us this morning. Hello, Ali.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. I love the ending of that video there.
I am worried. It's Fabrizio. Is he doing Movember? He's got rid of his beard.
I didn't notice that. I didn't. Yes, of course. He's normally got a bit more going on, hasn't he?
He's got a bit more mix normally, hasn't he? Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh.
We don't get a chance to ask him this morning. The lads at Lisbon are having a break. A very exciting little trip. I won't say what they're doing because we may get to incoming video at some point, or they may want to share that with us on their return. But that lovely video there, Antonio F saying, spent many summer mornings in Costa de Caparica in my youth. And anyone who's been there will have recognized that immediately. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Crossing the 25 de Abril bridge in Lisbon there. And yeah, it looked like a cop movie. So 80s pop video or a cop movie at the beginning, and a wonderful Neil Kinnock moment at the end there. So Ali, good morning to you. Thank you for being here this morning. How is it in the Algarve? We're hearing reports of wild weather. Is it like that for you down in the Algarve at the moment?
Yeah, I think what we're tending to find at the moment is when it rains, boy, does it rain. You'll get like half an hour torrential where it's. Zara got caught with it this morning. I was almost like, can I call the Coast Guard to come and rescue me? It was just ridiculous. It was just like, vroom, soaked in about 10 seconds flat. And then it stops. And what we actually need is, I was up in Monchique yesterday afternoon, and that had, it was the most bizarre day. We were in the Algarve all day, and it was almost 30 degrees. We were like T-shirts. And thinking,
wow, first day of November.
First
day of November. Amazing, well done.
There were people on the beach. There were a couple of guys with no shirts on, literally. Wow. 1st of November, sunbathing on the beach, crazy. And then we went up to Monchique to do a dog walk with a dog trainer we've linked up with, and it started raining, and it rained, and it rained, and it kept raining. So it depends. Wow, where you are, it's crazy at the moment. We had really bad storms. A couple of weeks ago in Algarve, and it was as if it was almost like a tornado that went through just a gap in the town. Some of the most beautiful trees that we've got down by the river just completely felled. One enormous tree went down. It was crazy. But either side of that, fine. It just took a line straight down towards the camera building and took everything out in its wake. It was quite frightening, yeah.
Actually, piecing together a picture of what has been sent to me from around the country. Yeah, we are losing trees, aren't we? And we've had a lot of flooding going on, and it doesn't look like that's going to be stopping anytime soon. And your remark about the rain, we're used to showers, aren't we? Not sort of torrents and downpours that seem to be never-ending.
It's not, I don't know, I guess it'll fill the barrages a bit, but it doesn't help the river where we are. It's still completely dry, which is crazy for November. And of course, the torrential rain just disappears again. It's that steady, constant rain that actually is going to fill the river up. So it's a bit of a worry.
And the downpours chop up the ground, don't they? With the sort of inadvertent, suddenly a river or stream appears where you weren't expecting it. I went over to my Parc de Morendas, which is just a few minutes walk from the house. Took the kids into the forest and made some hot chocolate and toasted some marshmallows on Halloween night. Totally terrified them until they got used to it. But part of what was terrifying was walking over fallen bits of eucalyptus tree and improvised little stream riverbeds that were now empty, but clearly water had been pouring through the place at a great rate, making channels. And I was stepping over trees and branches and dipping down into little dry or moist riverbeds, or little rivers, but it'd been quite disruptive to our little park area. So be careful, everybody out there. Trees are falling over, and no end to it in sight. But then occasional, as you say yesterday, occasional flashes of absolutely what we love about being in Portugal, beautiful sunshine.
crazy. I mean, this time last year, I can remember we'd already got our fire going, the Guerrero going. It was, we were looking forward to putting it on every night. It was cold 1st of November last year. I remember it because we have all the they always do the Castanho festival on the 1st in a couple of places, and then you have Magusto. I never know.
Magusto, I believe, yes.
And that's about the 14th or 15th, isn't it? Normally, it comes a bit later. So I love they have 2 completely separately named festivals, all with chestnuts in them. It's crazy, but
it's definitely the time of year, and a bit of Jarapiga to go with that as well.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to be trying on Monday evening for the wine club, a bit of Jarapiga, which I think pairs beautifully with the roasted chestnuts that we're seeing around the place at the moment as well. I love seeing that. People in Portugal the Portuguese love to pull up. I think either they're out walking and there's a chestnut roaster, or a roadside one, and people are picking some already ready roasted, or taking some home to put on the newly lit fire, I suppose, at this time of year. It's
normally.
Get the fire going, and then get a few chestnuts on there as well. Don't forget to prick a hole in them, you newbies to the art of roasting chestnuts. Otherwise, you're going to get a bit of 5th of November action in the
absolutely
popping out of the fireplace. Yes. Apart from that, how's life in the Algarve? How's life treating you down there?
Yeah, we've been busy as always. We're up. I mean, Dave obviously can't do any photography work on properties when it's raining, so he's had a couple of quiet weeks. I quite like this time of year, I must admit, but the weather has just thrown me completely. I mean, it's been. I think it was about 2 weeks ago before I even looked for a duvet. I've literally been sleeping on top of the bed, and you think. No, it's the middle of October. It's not right. It shouldn't be this warm, really, especially at night. We've been 20, 21 at night.
Yeah. Nunu the other day was saying about, how it's like 2 seasons now. And so perhaps that's what's going to happen. It's, it just feels a bit summery, and then it's going to suddenly feel very wintry at some point. Who knows? We don't know anymore, do we? It's quite unpredictable.
No, but we definitely need the rain. So I'm one of the local people that's not going to complain if it's raining at the moment, because we need it.
Yeah, that's right. I know there are other rain fans here. I heard a lovely story from one of our people who walked up to the meetup. In fact, they weren't coming to the meetup. We just chanced upon them, and vice versa, when we were on our way to the cafe. And she got caught in the rain and came and sat next to me at the meetup where we ended up, and said, "Oh, it reminded me of when I was a youngster, maybe at college, and courting and getting caught out in the rain, or they were hitchhiking or something, and they were soaked through to the skin." I was thinking, any minute now, there's a Neil Sedaka song that's going to come on, and laughter in the rain. But we can think of it like that, can't we? And I know there are some pluviophile. Is that people who love rain? If you're ready for it, and you go out and enjoy it specifically, it's a wonderful.
If you've got the right clothes on, I think that's the bottom line, isn't it?
Or no clothes on. That's the way to do it, isn't it? If it's mild like it is at the moment, get your swimming costume on and get out there in the garden. Great fun.
I'm not sure I could walk the dog in a swimming costume, mate, but you carry on if you want to.
Right,
no wonder the kids were frightened in the forest.
You leave that to me and the Silver Coast. We're a little bit odd. We live on the edge here. Well, that's then say to you, don't you, geographically? Okay. Talking of being out walking the dog, what a fine cover, I reckon.
I know. She's beautiful, isn't she? That goofy face is lovely.
Yes, and this is the cover, of course, of Snapshot magazine, monthly newsletter from Ali and Dave Sheldrake for November 2023. Is it a nice packed edition again, Ali?
116 pages again. I don't know how I manage it every month, but it sort of keeps growing. But it's good fun.
Do you need planning permission each time?
Probably, yeah. Yes. 2-story extension being built with nobody noticing. Yeah.
Yes. So here we go, and some of Dave's beautiful photos. Where is this?
Okay, so the first one. Well, you're going to climb a lot of steps if you want to get down to this beach. It's just north of us, Praia de Val de Homens. It's absolutely stunning. Dave thinks it's Neolithic. I mean, it's incredible. The rock formations and the colours and the patterns in the rocks are stunning.
You get a sense of that, don't you? If you look at the, you can see the strata, can't you? Like a period of history with a darker rock there for sure.
Beautiful, beautiful beach, and usually, as you can see, completely empty. On account of I think it's 190 steps, something like that, to get up and down it. So
okay, well that's good exercise, isn't it? I mean, I think a lot of people now are thinking to themselves, it's not like, no, I'm not going there with all those steps. It's like, yay, that's 400 of my steps, and on stairs as well. That's a little bit of added peril and
little bit extra.
Yeah. So that's all for the good, isn't it? If you're looking to build up your steps, and as you say, there, Praia de Val de Homens, a stunning beach with beautiful rock formations. It's like being around 100 million years ago. Sorry, 1 million years ago. I mean, give or take 99 million years. I get the point. It does look like it would be a great film set, doesn't it, for people?
It's wonderful, isn't it? And then the one on the right is Amarera, which is one of our local beaches, which Dave's caught some great sunsets. Incredibly, too late for the magazine, but literally the 31st, the most amazing skies across the Algarve. Virtually everybody was posting on Facebook. And luckily, Dave decided last minute, out he went with his camera and caught. I mean, the one on the right there is nice, but you wait till next month. You wait till you see the shots that he took on the 31st. And they are, the whole sky was on fire. It was incredible.
Was it? So what sort of wildlife? I'm thinking, we were hearing about shearwaters on one of the Portuguese islands. They were turning the lights off so the shearwater chicks could fledge and not be confused by the lighting. What sort of wildlife are you getting in these sorts of places? Is it good for rock pooling and that sort of thing?
I think so. Yeah, there's a company that are based near Algarve that do rock pool tours for kids and families. They're the experts. But yeah, low tide, it's fascinating what you can see. I mean, crabs are pretty obvious ones, but I'm not the expert on all the sort of mini wildlife that you can get out there. But certainly there's a lot there.
And have you been prodding any jellyfish? A lot of jellyfish I've noticed getting washed up on so much. Is a jellyfish, not a season exactly, because it's more regular than that, but there you get a sort of proliferation of jellyfish being washed.
And it's really strange which beaches on the Algarve they tend to congregate on. If
they've got their favourites as well, have they? Like humans?
Favourites, yeah, absolutely.
I go beach myself.
Sometimes Monte Clerigo will get them, but not very often. But if you go down on the Algarve, some of the beaches, they're enormous. I mean, they have to put warnings out to, keep away because you get.
And everyone's terrified of jellyfish. I don't know if they're all poisonous, but there's of course the famous Portuguese man of war, and everyone's ready to urinate on everyone else, aren't they? That in case they do get stung, which doesn't work, everybody. So forget about that. Okay. Now the on the right here, I've seen this style before. This particular artist, I think, has work across the Algarve or maybe even around Portugal. Is that right?
Yeah, Portugal. He's an Algarve sculptor, but I think there's some around Lisbon as well. But there are quite a few towns and villages in the Algarve have them. I mean, it's incredibly detailed work. It's fantastic. He's called Carlos Oliveira Correa, and these are all in Odisseixe, which is village just north of us.
So same sculptor has done both in both styles here.
Yes, he does. He just takes scrap metal and pieces, but it's the story he creates with them that I really like. You really can see characters and a history and a story in each of these sculptures. They're beautifully done, and they're life size as well. They're incredible.
Absolutely. That's worth mentioning, isn't it? Because getting a sense of scale on these. And there's that couple out walking in the rain. That's them, isn't it? That we're talking about there. The archetypal couple getting caught out in the rain. And amazing how you can sculpt such firm buttocks using only metalwork.
You're just jealous, aren't you, mate? That's basically what it is.
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay. Oh, I remember those days when my buttocks were that firm. Yeah, I know what.
Should we pause for a moment? So if anyone wants to remember the days when their buttocks were as firm as that. I wasn't expecting that this morning, but I think it's a moment to pause. Okay, let's move on. Right, Alyson Sheldrake. I know her, artist and author. So what's happening? You have been busy, haven't you?
Well, the one on the left, the bottom is the one I was working on last month for a client. So that one's finished and ready to go. And then I've literally just put some in the newsletter this month. I've got a few pieces for sale. I always put a decent price on. So if anyone's interested, I rarely have a lot of work that's actually around in the studio. So
okay, and you just know you're looking at an Alyson Sheldrake. This is your style, isn't it? And people will know your work more and more as the years pass. Lovely. Thank you very much. Latest work there, and as you say, the perfect Christmas gift. If somebody does want to buy one of these, Ali, what's the best way to get in touch? Same as with the magazine, right?
Message me, call me, email. I'm pretty easy to get hold of. Just if you Google me, you'll find me. Easy to find.
And if you put Snapshot as well, you're definitely gonna find Ali that way. So who is this character on the left here? Dan Quixote.
Good
Algarve
name, isn't it?
character? Yeah.
Yeah, he's an Algarve author. He writes for the Tomorrow magazine every month. He is a wonderful guy for sharing other people's work and promoting everyone else around here. And I thought it was about time we did a big feature on him. So I interviewed him. Really fascinating, really interesting guy to talk to. It's quite interesting because he said he was born in a dictatorship country. So most of his early life was actually in a real lockdown beyond anything we would know.
Yes.
And he found that books were his only escape, really. So he really was an avid reader from a young age. He's an absolute fiend for Shakespeare. Really, really interesting guy. He's been rewriting Shakespeare in modern language, which is fascinating. But he's just a really nice guy. But we thought it was a good time to do it because it's the 400th anniversary of the first folio of Shakespeare's work. That was
Is that right?
Yeah, it came 1st of November. It was 400. I can't believe it, can you? 400 years since the first folio was published.
I remember it well.
Yeah, me too. That's when your buttocks were firm, mate.
That's when my Elizabethan buttocks were at their best. Why are we
You're never going to invite me back, are you? It's a terrible thing to be running today, isn't it? But there you go.
His love of literature then gives him the sort of nom de plume, presumably, of Dan Quixote.
Yes.
And he looks like Captain Haddock as well, doesn't he? He looks like Captain Haddock from Tintin.
I know he's a fabulous guy, but so he's called he's done like what he calls pseudo essays, and he's called his the last folio. So it's a fascinating play on words, but he's basically he's trying to encourage people, I think, to fall in love with Shakespeare again, because I think for a lot of us when we did it at school, I remember doing it and loving it. But for a lot, the whole language can be quite a barrier to even get into those stories. So.
It's true, isn't it? It's true. And we've got another video from Fabrizio and Ian of the Gulbenkian Museum. And we know that T. Duck loves to go along, Mr. and Mrs. Duck love going along to the concerts there. Yeah. And they do explain us, I think, for some of the more impenetrable work, the great works. It's nice to learn a little bit about it before you go. And T. Duck was telling me about that. He familiarizes himself with the music before going to the concert. And you have to do that with Shakespeare to some extent, don't you? Because once you've cracked it, once you've got, it's a bit like learning Portuguese, I suppose. Once you've got into the culture and the language a little bit, and you can understand more, it like a new world opens up to you, doesn't it? And I remember having that moment, thinking, oh, this is so boring and so difficult as a kid, Shakespeare. Then when you go and when it's explained to you a bit, and you see one of the plays come to life, or you just you realize that Shakespeare wasn't afraid of a bit of smutty innuendo, and a turn of phrase, in there. Oh, okay, now I get it. Now I understand it better. And you're absolutely right. There's real treasure in there, and hence his enduring.
Yeah. I have no idea how many, but I know when you look and start to research it, so much of our language today and the words, particularly the idioms and the phrases that we use, are from Shakespeare. I mean, it's incredible how many new words and phrases he created.
I think all that glisters is not gold, which we changed to all that glitters or glistens is not gold. I'm loving it. The famous McDonald's strapline. I think he came. No, he didn't do that one. But anyway, there are many that he is credited with. We have boa comida as well. Are we looking at an arroz dos in front of us here?
Yes, it's made with couscous. So it's a traditional couscous dos. It comes from Bragança.
So it is Portuguese. This to me looks like a hipster twist on a traditional Portuguese favourite. But no, but this is from Bragança, and it's a way of reinterpreting the arroz dos using couscous and keeping it sweet, because couscous we think of as a savoury, don't we? So there it is, done as arroz dos. And have you made and tried this? Is that why it's?
I haven't. No, I get all the recipes from Relish Portugal every month, but they have a whole connection of kind of chefs and kind of writers who send in these recipes. So this one came from someone called Sarah Veronica. She goes by Gastroilogica. I think that's how you pronounce Gastroilogica.
We like the look of that.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? It's a different wheat. It's Barbella wheat rather than your traditional Durham wheat, which you would get for couscous. It's a different wheat. So I'm guessing that makes the texture and the flavour different for it and make it maybe sweeter. I don't know. But
it says in the fall in Trás-os-Montes near Bragança. a small group of individuals gather and prepare a local version of couscous, a handmade. So it's actually the cereal is harvested here, if that's what it is, a grain cereal, a handmade tradition with hundreds of years of history. Local kushko, the name of this type of couscous, is quite special. It is made with the local barbella wheat, as you say there, Ali, local barbella wheat variety, which is normally used for baking bread instead of durum wheat, like in North African traditions. There you go. It's from this artisanal grain that the traditional sweet couscous or couscous pudding or couscous dos is made, consisting of couscous, milk, sugar, eggs, and cinnamon. Familiar Portuguese themes there. It's often served as a warming, sweet, comforting treat during the colder months or as a chilled delight in the warmer summer months. I want to try that. That's great. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. And I'm just looking over at GMPVIP, learnaboutportugal.com, and I've put rice into the search box, and we've got the rich tapestry of Portuguese rice dishes there, with arroz de pato, duck rice, arroz de marisco, and of course the arroz doce over there. So yeah, rice here in Portugal is great, and then there's a new twist on it. If you get fed up with rice, if that's possible to ever have enough rice. Me growing up on rice, never. But that's a nice little twist and a change, isn't it? The couscous actually grown here in Portugal. Wonderful. Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on from Captain Haddock, served on a bed of sweet couscous. And I love that little white flash on her chest. It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous, isn't she? It's a little goofy grin. She's got such a gorgeous grin, that girl. It's fabulous. She's
your before and after pictures there. And what's this then? I came up with, I think, the idea of San Martino de Porto syndrome. We've got black dog syndrome here. Tell us about that.
Well, I kind of picked it up because obviously Zora's our second black dog that we've had now. And if you talk to lots of rescues, and historically, quite often the black dogs and cats are much harder to place. And I kind of started, we've got time, haven't we? I've got to tell you the story.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, I don't know if it's me. You always get, I used to call it in Birmingham, the nutter on the bus. And they always used to come and sit by you, didn't they? You know the one.
Don't do that when I'm just drinking some water. Yes, I do. And I have to admit, I have been that person as well as usually sat. I'm either that person myself or I'm sat next to them. Yes, there's something some of us give off, isn't there, where that person with particular needs for attention or whatever it is finds you on the bus and sits next to you and says, in Birmingham, presumably, it's like, all right,
yeah, definitely. All right. I mean, I guess you could take it as a compliment. You obviously look friendly or welcoming enough that they want to come and talk to you. I take it either way. But anyway, so picture me and Zara. And I remember Zara, very nervous dog still barks at new people she doesn't know, other dogs. She's quite nervous still. And I'm trying every day. We take her out new places and keep getting her settled and getting her used to things. So 7:15 on a Sunday morning, we're at our local cafe. We've walked along the river. We've sat down. I've got her all nice and settled ready while I have my char verde. And this bloke, literally, I saw him coming towards me. You know that moment you go, here we go. He's got about 3 carrier bags, rucksack on his back, trotting along, and he's talking to himself the whole way towards the cafe. Now, there are only 2 outside seats in this little cafe, 2 tables. So I'm at one. Of course, he goes and plonks his bags by the other one. And literally, he sits down, carries on talking to himself after he got his coffee. And then really loudly, in a much louder voice, he shouts out, "You don't need to tell me I'm mad. I know I'm mad." At which point I've got the giggles because I'm like sitting there going, oh, great. And I'm trying, poor Zara starts to bark because he shouted and it's upset her a bit. And then, so I calm her down again. And then he looks over, he goes, "Oh, lady." And I'm like, here we go. This is going to be good. And he goes, it's that classic. I just go, yes. And he goes, "Oh, good. You're English." And I'm like, yes.
Ali, why did you not say
Bon dia.
Or it
wouldn't have mattered in Algarve, trust me.
Right.
So we carried on chatting away to me. He tells me about that he slept in the field overnight and that he's got this crazy cocaine addict friend in the UK that he's calling and talking to, probably in the middle of the night. And then all of a sudden, we're back to Shakespeare again, which is where this theme of the whole magazine comes together beautifully. He took on this really impressive, deep Shakespearean voice. And he goes, "Do you know Faust?" And I'm like,
wow.
Sorry, you're talking about your cocaine-filled nutty friend and sleeping in the field, and now it's Faust.
Yes.
And I'm like, it's 7:15 in the morning on a Sunday, mate. The Faust, really.
Yes.
And he's like, Faust, he made a deal. And he starts literally telling me all about it. And I kind of vaguely remember it from school. But, as I said, it's a bit early in the morning. Because, Faust, he made a deal with the devil. He said he would have power and knowledge in return for the ultimate sacrifice, he said. And I'm like, oh, I'm vaguely remembering it. Because his soul, like, yes, I remember it. And he leaned forward and he goes, bah. And I'm like, thanks for telling me that. And he goes, well, I haven't finished yet. He said, the reason why I thought of Faust. And I'm like, okay, keep going. He goes, in the story, the devil comes to Faust. And I'm like, well, actually, because it wasn't the devil. He goes, it was his apprentice or his spirit. He was describing it. And he goes, whatever. And he goes, and then he throws me completely, because I'm now thinking this guy is completely on a different planet, quite happily there. Because his name was Mephistopheles. And at which point I'm like sat there going, I think he might be right, but I'm going to go home and look this name up.
Right,
this is an impressive name for someone to have.
Yes.
And he said, oh, well, the reason I wanted to tell you is that Mephistopheles in the books and traditionally was portrayed as a black poodle. At which point, finally, things rattle back into a sense. You think Zara's a poodle, which she isn't, I swear. So I then made the mistake of chatting back to him and saying, well, actually, she's a Spanish water dog. Well, that was it. Another 10 minutes of talking about Spanish water dogs ensued with this nutter.
Yes.
But it got me. I came home, looked up. He was absolutely spot on. Mephistopheles was the apprentice of the devil, and quite often was portrayed as a black poodle dog. And that started me looking at the history of this whole. And I'm thinking, is that where black dog syndrome started from? Because I knew about it. But the history then was absolutely fascinating, because Shakespeare himself used the black dog.
Churchill as well, right?
There was a black dog of Newgate Prison, which apparently haunted the inmates of the prison. We're going back to 13th, I think, century here, and the Old Bailey was next door to Newgate Prison. And the conditions were apparently so grim that some prisoners actually turned to cannibalism to stay alive. But there was a scholar who apparently was incarcerated, who was a very worldly wise and clever boy, but managed to get stuck in the prison. And he got devoured quite quickly, apparently. And he was apparently imprisoned on charges of witchcraft. And the story goes with the black dog that when he died, he basically, this black dog emerged the next morning and stalked every prisoner who had eaten part of this scholar and killed them. So this whole black dog story, and of course, when we were policing, the black dog was quite a common reason why a car in the middle of the night would suddenly have crashed into the side of a field or hit something else, because people would say, I saw a black dog run in front of me and I hesitated, or I spun the wheel and lost my car.
Whether they had or not, that was often what people said.
Yeah, it was often. And so I started doing all this research, and I was just fascinated then that how often, both in history and also in modern days and in lots of different countries, the black dog is seen as this symbol of either the devil or of something terrible or something that's going to haunt you or kill and eat you.
And didn't Winston Churchill describe his periods of depression as the black dog visiting?
Black dog syndrome, yeah, exactly, yeah. So it's become something that's...
And so to this day, then it's hard for dog adoption centres to because it's like our fear of snakes and spiders. Yeah. There is a thing with black dogs and black cats as well, isn't there?
Yes. Yeah. So it's a really interesting one. So I made a point. I contacted Kerry from ESA. We put down some extra black dogs into because we always feature 2 this month. Kaiser, look at him, isn't he beautiful?
A lovely little face. Yeah. Looks like he can talk. Yes.
He's been at the shelter in January. He's been there 2 years. He's one of their old, which is horrible for a young boy. He's only when was he born? 2020. So he's only coming up 4 years old. So half his whole life.
His whole life in care.
Yeah, bless him. Wow. So we featured quite a few black dogs on purpose this month, just to try and.
My first dog, Olive, she was a black dog, and I
Mm.
didn't give it a second thought, but it makes sense now. And I was surprised recently. I think I said so on the show. You know that we also got a black cat, a rescue cat. Little kitten, and they are, you know, that's when I found out they're hard to home because they're seen as bad luck, not good luck, as a black cat. But again, it goes with the witches, doesn't it? The witch with the black cat. I guess it's a you know, of mythology and legend. It's not seen necessarily as a good thing. Wow. Okay, so plenty of black dogs and cats, we should say, looking for homes to go to.
Absolutely.
Kaiser included here, who's one of them. Oh, bless him! What a lovely face.
I know. He's a sweetie, isn't he? I have trouble with this because I think I'll adopt all of them, but I'm not sure Sarah would be too impressed with that.
Right. So, sorry to move on here, but I noticed it's 9:45 already.
I know.
Another video to share from Fabrizio and Ian of the Gulbenkian, their trip to the Gulbenkian. We saw the Costa de Caparica with them earlier on. We'll see Gulbenkian. Thank you, fellas, for sending in these videos, even though you can't be here yourselves. Where do you love to read? So you often feature authors, of course. You always feature authors and books. And this is the more sort of general point, is it, of how people like to curl up with a book?
Yeah, I did a kind of Facebook group where I was kind of the author for the day and did about 8 posts during the day. But of course, those kind of things disappear quite quickly on Facebook. So I thought I'd take some of the themes and cover them each month. So this was literally me sharing a couple of my favourite spots at home, because I love reading. Everyone knows that. I'm always reviewing books that I've read. I read 7 or 8 books every month normally. But I wanted to kind of share where I indoors and outdoors. Sarah's very helpfully modelling the spots for me. But we had a wonderful outside covered area. The picture on the right is our covered area outside in the garden.
Oh, that looks lovely.
Well, when we had it done, the builder initially, he said, "Oh, you've got all this space. It's not a fixed structure. It's just literally wooden supports." And then he gave us special advice on a roof that's insulated, which actually means it's about 3 or 4 degrees cooler always under there than the rest of the garden, even in the middle of summer. It's amazing. But initially, he paced things out and he said, "Oh, let's go for this. It's 3 meters by, I think, 2.5, 4 meters, something like that. It's huge." And I kind of went, "That's really, are you sure? That seems a lot." And he goes, no, trust, you know. I thought, well, if we're having it done, we're paying a builder anyway to come and do it. Let him get on with it. And we actually had, you can see where the beams are on the top there. The wall naturally recesses back slightly, so they actually sit beautifully up into the eaves of the wall anyway. So it was a natural place to put the roof. And I'm so glad he did, because that's the way you can see the big sofa. I mean, it easily fits 4 people, or me plus Sarah if we're stretched out. The other half is our dining table and chairs where we eat outside all summer. So it's actually a huge big space, but we use it all the time. And that's my favourite place to curl up and read a book.
Oh, I love these inside out spaces. And you can do that here in Portugal, can't you? So often, you know, the intermediate space is absolutely wonderful. You've done it beautifully. Lovely ceramics as well. And clearly a lovely place to sit and read. On the Dream Team session, I'll be doing one of those tonight at 9, but I often get the panelists to talk about the books that will help people learn and understand Portuguese better. And Gilda wanted to start an expat book group, reading group. She's too busy to do that, basically, although she loves reading and would love to do it and help foreigners, you know, understand Portuguese better through literature. If somebody wants to join the local or start a local book group, I mean, do many book groups exist among the expat foreigner community, Ali?
I know of a couple on the Algarve, but not many. No, it's certainly not in other countries. I know America and a lot of Britain. There are really avid book groups who meet, you know, monthly. They have a book of the month.
Yes,
they all
exactly.
read the same one and come back and talk about it. And lots
drink
of
wine. Drink wine, might have a few snacks. So maybe not such a big thing here, but a great thing to do. I'd certainly be very happy to facilitate anyone and talk about it here. If you're looking for people to join you to start a book club in your part of Portugal, it's a great idea, isn't it? And you could lean into Portuguese works of literature, or, you know, learning the language books and so on. So a great idea from Gilda there.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lovely place for you to. I love your ceramics in there as well with the fish. And we have got my top 5 Algarve. Who's this that we're talking
Lisa Walker? Yeah, she's a local artist. She does amazing stained glass artwork.
Really?
Yeah, it's really, she's started a few years ago when she moved out here, and she's really, really good at it. It's really impressive. So yeah, we do top 5 every month. I pick somebody local. They tell me 5 things about the Algarve they love. And it's nice actually, because every month somebody pops up with somewhere new, or a different restaurant, or a different walk, or a nice way to spend a Sunday afternoon. And you get more ideas of how to, because it's the locals. I like those kind of insider tips.
Yes.
Don't go to that restaurant. You want to go around the corner to the one that looks like it's closed down, and that's the one. You bang on the door, and you get your prato di dia for €10. Yeah,
That's it.
That's
Yeah,
what we like.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So there we have Lisa. And
Definitely.
you mentioned Tomorrow magazine.
Yeah.
I mean, what I want to say is, when does Tomorrow come out?
Yeah, the first of the month. It comes out the same day. So, but I get a sneak a couple of days early, so I always manage to get hold of.
Oh, so you can. Tomorrow's coming out tomorrow, or tomorrow's out today. Tomorrow came out yesterday. A great magazine, and celebrating what the local bomberos there.
Yeah, this was he's the commandant of Lagos fire station, Marcio Regino.
Okay.
So they've actually got asked to go and do some photographs for the feature as well. So the cover photos his as well. So not really interesting guy. It's worth getting just to read the feature about the commandant.
I'm sure
They've had a great tour all the way around as well. He really enjoyed himself. It was
Oh, excellent. Actually, I want to come back to you with your background in the police force. I would like to ask you about how people can get to know their local GNR. Maybe now's the time to do it. I'd love to have somebody from the GNR on the show. Probably the most obvious police. Thank you very much, Mrs. M. Coffee incoming. Probably the most obvious police force to have on the show, because the PJ are more investigative, aren't they? And PSP, maybe they could be quite. It could be quite informative to talk to somebody from the PSP. But how do foreigners engage with the local police force and understand the rights and responsibilities, as it were? And it's nice, isn't it, to break that ice? I think, isn't it, with the local police?
Yeah,
in a good way.
it's interesting. Al Jazeera actually been pretty good. I found them more welcoming, more willing. Even if you bon dia, they will actually reply. I think where we used to live for a good owner around Portimao, you can literally say bon dia and they look at you strange, like, why are you talking to me?
Yes, I've had that. Yeah,
I think Dave and I really struggle. Obviously, Dave did 31 years. And he was a community police officer for about 29 of those. He did a couple of years in an office, hated it, straight back out on the street again. And he ran his own community team. So he was Axminster. Everybody Axminster and Seaton knew him, knew the team. And the informants and the advice and the support that the community would give you if you needed help as a police officer, or if you wanted to try and solve a crime, was amazing. And I think I've talked to some senior police here who are trying very hard to bring that in, but I think to me, it always feels more like a military than a community kind of service.
Yes,
and it has that sense and feeling of a distance, and I wouldn't say an unwillingness to talk to the public. I don't think that's fair on the particularly the GNR, but there isn't that natural connection. There isn't that sense of a community resource that certainly us as British people would, traditionally know what the police were like, particularly in a rural community, which I feel the whole of the Algarve, and to be honest, most of Portugal is quite rural, isn't it?
And it's just so weird, isn't it, to say hello to somebody and for them to blank you. But it's a cultural thing, I think. It's, we're not here to be friendly. We're here to take care of serious business, is the vibe I've got sometimes.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I struggle with is when you find out that they have to buy their own uniform and their own guns.
Yes.
And they're not well paid, let's be honest. I mean, we always joke with Dave that he's on his police pension, and we live on that comfortably here because it's a good pension for a Portuguese salary, if you like.
Yeah.
But actually, when you look at what they're paid in Portugal for doing a job that is, and they're armed as well. I mean, Dave would never have carried a gun. I don't think in the UK, that wasn't his idea of policing. You need an armed force. I don't agree with that. But your general day-to-day community police officer, how wonderful. Still, I think in most parts of Britain, you don't need to be armed. You can have community and public supporting the job that you do. And I hate
that continue.
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And maybe we can speak to David Thomas. David Thomas has done a lot of work, obviously,
Yes.
at communities, safe communities.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy, David. Really, really.
Yeah, and I'm sure he can connect us.
Yeah.
But I think that's useful work, isn't it, to get an understanding of how policing works, because there are 3 police forces or police departments.
Yes.
And it would be really great to have a spokesperson from the GNR come and tell us, how
Well, I'm
it
sure
is.
David's probably your best first contact, isn't he? Because I'm sure he'd be able to give you links through to the right police chiefs, because he does a huge amount of work really successfully with them.
Yeah,
So,
he does. He does. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay. Bombeiros. We were looking at the photo of the Bombeiros. I finally got round. I don't know. Forgive me for this. Those of you who took part in the World Cup sweepstake, I finally. I was keeping the money, and I was going to round it up before I took it into the Bombeiros. Then I forgot all about it. I did it this week. We managed to take €100 into the São Martinho de Porto Bombeiros this week and give them a Good Morning Portugal mug. I'm trying to find the photo, which I can't find here, but it was lovely to find Philippa, who was happy to take a selfie with me, and another beefy Bombeiros guy. We got a lovely picture of that. So if you're ever wondering what happened to that money that we gathered whilst we were doing the World Cup sweepstake, it got rounded up to €100, and that's with the Bombeiros in São Martinho de Porto. Now let's move on to meeting the author Lisa Grantham from Burton-on-Trent, where you can smell beer in the air. And I think, isn't that where Marmite came from as a byproduct from Burton, I believe, as well?
I think it might be. Yes, I think you're right. Now, Lisa's a fantastic girl. Now, I'm always fascinated with this. I have quite a few author friends who all live in Galicia in northern Spain.
Yeah.
But literally, their lifestyle and their culture and a lot of the landscape is very Portuguese. It's really interesting. They're in a different little enclave of Spain, for sure, than a lot of, certainly the Costas. They're far more Portuguese than they are Spanish, I think. Yeah. So she's up there in Galicia. They moved to rural Galicia. They raise chickens. They grow vegetables. And she writes books about her life there.
Looks great. She's an MBA. Yeah. She's not your average MBA, is she? I'd expect her to be in a suit, all suited and booted, ready for the corporate world. There she is, probably bringing the principles of the MBA to land management there and small holding. Lovely. Watch out if you're interested in small holding and growing your own and that sort of thing. They look like they're great books by Lisa.
Yeah, really funny. She's a good one. She's a good.
Wow, look at that lens. Look at that.
I know. Somebody got sport early Christmas, Dave, for sure.
Oh, really? Okay. So what is that one good for? Is it really an 11mm lens? You see, 50mm is your standard lens in photography, isn't it? Is that really an 11mm? Or have things changed?
Yeah, I think it's one of the widest lenses you can get. But actually, they've read some reviews on it and couldn't believe that everyone said you don't get any distortion, even on the edges. So that was enough for him to get excited.
So it doesn't go fisheye. You get a good broad view without it distorting the edges and going fisheye.
I think he's got an 18 to 30, 16 to 35, 18 to 35, something like that. That's his. That was before that was his widest landscape. So to get an 11, but he has been absolutely stunned by this lens. It's beautiful, and it takes. You can see some of the pictures there. It's more, it's incredible.
Irix. Is that the brand? Irix. I've not heard of them.
Irix. Yeah, no, David never heard of it before either. I think it's Irix.
Irix. Is it Japanese? Is it German? Who's making the optics on this?
I knew you were going to ask me a tough question. Ask Dave.
Don't worry.
There you go. That's a challenge for the readers. Go find out.
Who knew I was a photography nerd? Anyway, okay. So to the bookshelf. You said you read lots of books. You're always reviewing books. What have you got for us? A capybara.
I just put the 3 memoirs, a couple of memoirs, new ones, and a real old classic. You might remember this I remember reading it as a teenager, early 20s, I think. Emma and I, Sheila Hocken. I remember her because Emma was a guide dog. She refused to accept that she was going blind. She was a teenager when she went blind. And then this beautiful chocolate brown Labrador entered her life and opened up her world for her. And I remember reading, it was one of the first books about guide dogs I remember reading. And somebody mentioned it last month to me. And I kind of went, I'd completely forgotten Sheila Hocken. So I went, literally got it. I love Amazon and KDP and Kindle. KU is amazing because you can just download the book. 2 seconds later, you can start reading it. I really enjoyed that. And then the other 2 are both new memoirs. The middle one, Hot Pools, Power Shells and a Pandemic. Lisa also lives in Galicia. So Lisa and Lisa both live in
Okay,
Galicia.
right.
Try that one after you've had a few beers.
After a Jarabiga.
Yeah,
Absolutely wonderful. Always great to
Yeah.
go through the new edition.
good.
I've put the link on the screen. There it is. Get your copy of Snapshot here, alysonsheldrake.com/news. If you want to buy some of Alyson's work, you can do that, I'm sure, through that link as well. And I really appreciate how you create us our own special mini edition. There are 116 pages. We went through 20 odd there, and there are 116 pages this month of Snapshot. So thanks a lot, Ali. Have
welcome.
you seen this book that's just being talked about? This is Power of Now, Unleashing the Power of Patience in Portugal. It's a spoof book, in case you hadn't guessed.
I want a copy.
I haven't written it yet. I just mocked up the cover. Absolutely no copies sold anywhere, it says on the cover. It's based obviously on Eckhart Tolle's work, and it's got a cover quote. You have to be patient. That's the first thing. Patience is going to be required here. You may get annoyed and you will get upset about things, but that's how it is here. Bobby O'Reilly, Portugal's busiest expat, I've called him, and it's all about unleashing the power of patience in Portugal. That's my column this week in the Portugal Resident. The power of now.
I've got to patiently wait for you to write it. That's not fair, you know.
It might not happen. It might. That's as far as it might go, Ali. We've got a lovely video to finish with the Gulbenkian from Fabrizio and Ian that we'll conclude the show with. So thank you everybody for being here this morning. We're talking a little bit about phobias. We were talking about snakes and black cats, black dogs. Whereas phobias are not related to survival. Also, phobias come later, whereas those primal I was going to call them disgustations, but you know what I mean, things that we're disgusted and worried by. There is a theory in psychology that phobias of venomous, poisonous animals are wired into our DNA, so very difficult to overcome. And others we learn, I guess. But what is it about cats and cucumbers, I wonder? They seem to have an inbuilt fear of the cucumber. So I've known humans who behave in a similar way. Thank you for all of that, James, in the chat. And you also had something to think about. To spell panda, you just need the letters P and A. Very good. Oh, Ali, come on. Dad jokes. Before we go, nearly forgot. That's no good, is it? So let's go with the dad jokes this morning. I had a job selling security alarms door to door, Ali, and I was really good at it. If no one was home, I would just leave a brochure on the kitchen table. Right.
Very good.
70% of the earth is covered in water. Oh, the other 30% is covered in idiots. That's harsh.
Harsh.
I don't, but an underestimate on some days. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I'm pretty sure one of them is C. Yes, if you're in a multiple choice situation later on today, I hope that helps. Ali, love to you and yours down there in the Algarve. And
you too, my love.
Take care and bye for now. Thank you very much indeed.
Bye.
Onward with the video, and we'll see you tonight for the Golden Visa Alternative webinar with Holborn Assets and the Dream Team at 9. Until then, enjoy this video of the Gulbenkian. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Hi Carl, hi everybody, welcome from both of us from a rather wet, strange enough, Lisbon. Hi guys, well thanks for looking at our video. We had a great time. It's still raining unfortunately, but you know, we're back home now and having a good evening. Sorry we can't be with you this week. We will definitely be back again with you next month, start of December. So until that time, see you soon.
Peace.
Have a great month and speak to you later. Bye.